Babe, you are not breaking down. You are coming undone in the exact way a woman does. The self that got you here was built to win a game that you've quietly stopped wanting to play. You built a self and you built her well. You're not going backwards. You're not losing your mind. You are just between selves. And the in-between has no map, which is precisely why it feels like you're free falling. The difference between destruction and reordering is one thing. Are you moving towards your values or just away from your pain? And this is the entire test. Welcome to Rich and Regulated, where women learn to build wealth in alignment and flow. I'm Jessica Soul. For over a decade, I've helped women create the lives of their dreams, and here I'll share how I build wealth, fast-track results, and reveal money truths that will blow your mind. Let's get wealthy. Babe, this one may hit close to home because there's a chance you're sitting in the exact thing I'm about to describe right now. So I want you to know that you're not alone. You know, these things usually show up for a lot of women that I work with at night. The house has finally gone quiet. Everyone's asleep. And instead of that relief that you've waited for all day, there's this strange, flat stillness. Like you're standing in the kitchen, you don't even remember walking in. And this thought moves through you, calm as anything. And it says, I think I want to burn this whole thing down. The business, the marriage, the friendships, the version of your life that on paper you're supposed to be grateful for. And here's the part that actually frightens you. It isn't the thought. You could handle a dramatic, hysterical thought. It's how peaceful you feel when you're thinking it, how reasonable it sounds, how it doesn't even feel like a crisis at all. It feels like the truth just quietly clearing its throat. And today I'm talking to that woman in the kitchen. I want to tell you something that almost nobody is going to talk about, and the silence around it is doing real damage. If that just resonated, what you are feeling is not rare. It is not a sign that something has gone wrong with you. It is actually one of the most common, least spoken about things a woman moves through. Usually somewhere between your mid-30s and your 40s. And I see it constantly. Women who look like they have absolutely everything handled, quietly coming apart at the seams. And every single one of them is convinced that she's the only one and that it must mean something's broken. Babe, you are not breaking down. You are coming undone in the exact way a woman does, right before she becomes herself. So let me give you a different word for it, because the word you've been using is probably part of the problem. You've been calling it a breakdown. And what I want to call it is a reordering. And the difference between those two words is the difference between fighting this and just finally understanding it. You know, most of us were trained from the time we were small to read discomfort as danger. Something hurts, something must be broken, so fix it fast. And so the moment the ground goes soft under you, every alarm you own starts screaming that you have to get back into control immediately. But I want to offer you a completely different read. This isn't a breakdown. It's a reordering. And the only reason it feels like loss is that something real is actually leaving. So let me tell you what's really happening underneath the 2 a.m. stillness. Because once you understand the mechanics, it stops being terrifying and it starts being almost holy. You built a self and you built her well. Somewhere back there, you became a woman who was capable, reliable, certain, the one who knew the answer to everything, the one who held it together, the one other people leaned on and never worried about. And probably for a long stretch of your life, that self worked. She got you the business, the relationships, the standing, the life you can point to. But here's the thing nobody warned you about. Every self has a use by date. Not because you failed her, because you outgrew her. That version of you was built to win a particular game. And babe, you won it. And winning it is exactly what revealed that the game was never quite yours. The self that got you here was built to win a game that you've quietly stopped wanting to play. And here is the most disorientating part of the whole thing. So stay with me. Nothing new ever comes from what you can already control. So just listen to that again. Nothing new lives in the parts of your life you've already mastered. So your instinct right now, which is to grab the wheel, get control back, shrink yourself back into the version that felt stable, that instinct is completely human, but it will not work because there is nothing new back there. You've already been her. You've already wrung her dry. Going backwards is like rereading a book you've read 40 times and being disappointed it doesn't quite surprise you. And of course it doesn't. You know, nothing new ever comes from what you can already control. And that's the whole reason this period in your life hurts. Every real becoming asks you to outgrow who you've been before you have a shred of evidence of who you're turning into. There's no proof yet, no certificate, no milestone, no comfortable new identity sitting there with your name on it. There's just the old one dissolving and a long, foggy, mapless gap in the middle. And that gap is the most honest place you will ever stand. You're not going backwards. You're not losing your mind. You are just between selves. And the in-between has no map, which is precisely why it feels like you're free falling. You're not going backward, you're between selves. And that in-between never has a map. So let me teach you what this season looks like from the inside. Because the second you can name a thing, it stops happening and it starts being something you're just moving through instead. So there are 4 things that I find show up when we're reordering. And the moment you can name them, they stop running you. So the first one, and this one ambushes everybody, is the friendships. People you have loved for years who suddenly feel like a coat that doesn't fit anymore. You'll be at dinner with a woman you've known for a decade and you'll feel this strange, lonely static, like you're just translating yourself into a language that you've stopped speaking. You'll laugh in the right places and mostly mean it and then drive home feeling more alone than if you'd stayed in. And your first response is guilt. What's wrong with me? These are my people. Why am I like this? So hear me on this. Sometimes a friendship is thinning out. It's not betrayal and it's not a tragedy. Sometimes you have simply grown past the version of that friendship that you were built to hold. A friendship can be over and still be real. You don't have to make her wrong to have outgrown her. That friendship was true. It was right for who you were. And it can be finished and still have been beautiful. You don't owe anyone a permanent residency inside of a smaller version of yourself just because she's the one they fell in love with. All right, so the second thing you'll be feeling, restlessness. This low electrical hum that will just not switch off. You'll be doing the thing you used to love. The work, the routine, the role, and where the satisfaction used to be, there's now this itch under your skin that's not going away. Not this, not this, not this, and you can't explain it because on paper, everything in your life looks fine. So you call yourself ungrateful. Babe, that restlessness is not ingratitude. It's your whole system telling you the container has gotten too small. A plant that's outgrown its pot doesn't look peaceful and thankful. It looks root-bound and cramped and like it's about to crack the terracotta. You're not ungrateful. You're root-bound, and nobody ever repotted a plant by shouting at it for being unhappy in the pot. So the third thing is the loud one, the urge to just torch it all down, right? To set fire to the entire life in one decisive afternoon. Quit the business by Friday, end the marriage, sell the house, become a stranger by the weekend. And I'll be honest with you, that urge feels incredible because after months of fog, here's finally something that feels like clarity, finally an action you can take, finally your hands on something solid. And I want you to be so careful with this feeling. And I'm going to come back to this because the torch is where this season can do you real lasting damage. Just quickly, guys, if you're a woman who's earning well but still feels like your money isn't working for you, I can help. My Build Your Wealth portal is the perfect place to begin, and for less than $100 a month, I'll teach you the exact groundwork that has allowed me to create freedom for my family. Just hit the link in the show notes to connect into my community today. Now back to the episode. The fourth thing is the quiet one. Underneath all the noise, and it's the one that actually matters. It's the pull to reroot in your real values, not borrowed ones. not the ones you performed because they earned you approval, your actual values. The things that when you're dead honest at 2 a.m. in the morning with a cold cup of tea, you know are true for you. That pull is the engine of the entire reorder. Everything else, the friendships, the restlessness, the urge to torch it all down, that's just friction thrown off by that one deep movement. And the discomfort is just the friction of a bigger self trying to fit inside of a life that was built for a smaller version of you. That's all it is. You're becoming a woman your current life doesn't have room for. And of course it's grinding. Something has to give. And usually it's the frame, not you. And I don't want to rush past the grief in this too, because we skip it far too fast. And there is a real grief in a reorder, in an up-leveling. You're losing things. The woman who knew exactly who she was, the certainty, the clean story you used to be able to tell about your own life. Those were real and they deserve to be mourned properly, not bulldozed under a motivational quote and a green smoothie. So let yourself actually grieve the woman that you're leaving behind. You know, she got you here. She was magnificent. She made the hard calls and built the very thing you're now standing on. She's allowed to be honored on her way out, not just shoved out the back door for being inconvenient. You can thank her and still let her go, both at once. And that's not weakness. That's the entire grown-up version of growth. And let me tell you about a woman I worked with because I think you'll recognize her. Successful, has achieved so much, the kind of woman everyone assumes has it completely together. And she said to me, almost in a whisper, that she felt like she was disappearing. And the worst part, she said, wasn't even the fear, it was the guilt. She kept apologizing for it. She kept saying, I have no right to feel this way. My life looks so good. And I told her what I'm telling you. The unraveling is not ingratitude. It's the growth that simply hasn't finished arriving yet. And the reason your good-looking life is exactly why nobody warned you this was coming. You were supposed to be done. You ticked all the boxes. You arrived. Nobody hands you a map for the second becoming, because most people won't admit there is one. We talk endlessly about the first time you build yourself, the scramble in your 20s and 30s, and then we go silent like the work is finished. And it isn't finished. It just gets quieter and lonelier and stops handing out gold stars, to be honest, okay? Now, I have to deal with the one thing you might be thinking, because I can feel it through the screen, and I know there are many women around me that feel it. You're going, Jess, this is all lovely, but what if I'm not reordering? What if I feel like I'm genuinely losing it? What if I'm about to make a catastrophic mistake and dress it up as a spiritual awakening? What if I'm about to torch my marriage or my business, or wake up in 6 months and realize I just blew up a perfectly good life because I was actually just exhausted and scared? And that's the right question. It's the most important question in this whole episode. And so I'm not going to wave it away. So here's the difference. And I want you to write this one on your hand. The difference between destruction and reordering is one thing. Are you moving towards your values or just away from your pain? And this is the entire test. Destruction, burning down, that's running. It's pure escape. Away from the ache, anywhere but here, just make the feelings stop. Reordering, however, moves you towards something. It has a direction that isn't only about exiting. And the reason the torch is so dangerous is that running away and growing toward can feel completely identical in the same moment. They share that exact same heartbeat. And the only way to tell them apart is to slow down long enough to ask which one you're actually in. Destruction runs away. Reordering walks toward. In the moment, they have the exact same feeling. So because I love a thing you can use at 2 a.m. instead of just a feeling, here's how I check it for myself. There are 3 questions that tell you whether this is a reorder or whether you're running away. So ask them before you torch a single match. First question, if the pain I'm feeling right now magically vanished tonight, Would I still want this change tomorrow morning? If the answer is no, if the change only makes sense while you're hurting, that's the pain talking, not your values. That's a runaway. Second question, can I say what I'm moving toward in one clear sentence without using the word away? If every sentence you can build is about what you're escaping and not one is about where you're going, slow right down because you don't have a destination yet. You have a fire alarm. The third question is the gentlest. Would the wisest, calmest version of me, the one who's had a full night's sleep and isn't running on fear, make this exact call? Not the exhausted woman at the bench at 2 a.m. If she would hesitate, you hesitate. 3 questions. That's the whole instrument panel. Keep it somewhere. You can find it on a bad night. So here's what I want you to actually do this week. And it's the precise opposite of burning it to the ground, right? Don't burn anything down, nothing. No resignation email, no for sale sign on the house, no detonating conversation at 11 p.m. Not because the changes aren't real. Some of them probably are coming, but because a decision made purely to stop a feeling is almost never the decision you'd make from your values system. So slow down. Discern. Speed is the torch's favorite trick. It whispers that if you don't act this very second, you'll lose your nerve. But the changes that come from your values, they keep. They are still true after you've slept, eaten, and cried. Don't burn anything down this week. Anything that can't survive 7 days of patience was never your destination. It was your panic. And let me say the obvious thing gently, because this is my world and it belongs here. This is the same season where a lot of women look at their money, their independence, their dependence on someone else's permission, and they feel that identical itch, that pull towards sovereignty. And that is a beautiful, true instinct, and it belongs in this conversation. But the same rule applies. Building toward your own financial sovereignty because it reflects who you're becoming, that's reordering. Doing something reckless with your money because you're restless and want to feel something, that's the torch in clever disguise. So move towards your values, never just away from your pain. The same discernment that protects your marriage protects your money. So here is your takeaway. The one thing I want you to carry out of this and keep. Name what you are becoming, not just what you are wishing to leave behind. Because almost every woman in this season can hand you a long, detailed, articulate list of everything she wants to leave. The friendships, the work, the marriage, the house, the old self. And not one sentence about what she's actually walking towards. A reorder with no destination is not a reorder. It's just a controlled demolition with better lighting. So get a piece of paper and at the very top, write one question. What am I becoming? Not what am I escaping? What am I becoming? And let the answer be a little bit delusional. Let it be bigger than the evidence, because you will not have evidence yet, and that's the entire point. The woman who's arriving doesn't exist on paper. She exists in the direction you're willing to face. So you write her down before she's real, and then you walk towards her, one unremarkable Tuesday at a time, right? Until one day you look up and she's the one holding the pen. And babe, the last thing, because I don't think this is the part meant to be done alone. The lonely 2 a.m. cup of tea in the kitchen is lonelier when you believe that you're the only woman experiencing this, and you are not. There are women all over the country in that same kitchen tonight, holding their cups of cold tea, certain that they're broken. Some of them are in a room I built precisely for this kind of conversation. Yes, it's called Crypto for Women, and I know the name makes it sound like it's only about money. The money's in there for sure, but what it really is a room of women reordering towards their own sovereignty and refusing to do it in isolation. It's belonging for the in-between version of you. It's completely free and the door is open whenever you're ready. So if you've been in the kitchen feeling like nobody on earth could possibly understand, Come and find the women who already do understand. So this week, slow down, grieve what's leaving, and name what you're moving towards, even before you can prove she's real. You're not having a breakdown, babe. You're just having a reordering. And the woman on the other side of it is going to be so grateful you didn't burn it all down. Have a beautiful day. If you've gotten value from today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And if you're ready for more support in building regulated wealth strategies, check out the link in the show notes. Have a beautiful day.